Hi there everybody, it's Rosie here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today from the card making video. Today it's Project Share Project blog hop with the theme of embossing. If you just if you use the link in the description to go over to my blog post that coordinates with this video, you'll see links to everybody else's blogs and see what their take is on this theme. So I'm using the mixed florals today. I love this set, and the suite is going to be retiring, but the stamp sets and the coordinating dies are going to be sticking around for a bit. So do have a look at that. Some great dies in this set, which we'll be using to cut out the flowers. So we're using this daisy sort of style flower this time. Recently posted something using the little sort of tulips. Really lovely sets for different occasions, and we've got some great leaves as well. And then I'm going to use more messages. This is a single stamp that stamps out loads of different messages onto one sheet. Okay, there are coordinating dies for it. I haven't got the coordinating dies, but you can use stuff in your stash to cut stuff out, or just fussy cut around them and everything. And I've stamped and heat embossed those. So there's one embossing element. So these are shiny because I've embossed them in with black embossing powder. So for the sample card here, I've used one of the stylish shapes. Love that die set. I use it ever such a lot. I realise every time I do a supply list, they always seem to be able to creep on in some guise or another. But they are really, really useful. And the wider banner was tall enough, but because of the way it cut, I opted to just bring it in from the outside and cut across the design. And we've just coloured that with Stampin' Blends. Also heat embossed the outline, and then we've got a new embossing folder. This is in the mini catalogue that's going to be launching in September. So I think at the time this video goes out, it will be out if I remember rightly, but if not, it will be very, very soon, and you'll be able to get this embossing folder in there. It is part of a suite of products, just featuring this today, and for the life of me, don't know what it's called. But it goes with the Peace on Earth suite or bundle. Okay, really, really nice. So that's what we're doing today. So embossed, dry embossing with a embossing folder, but also some heat embossing for the nice shiny outlines on the sentiment and the artwork. So embossing folder, then this is a thick embossing folder, so we'll use our Stampin' Cut and Emboss. We're going to use the dark grey plate, and I'm just lining that up inside the embossing folder, just looking, eyeballing the leaves on the outside here, and then top and bottom, just there, just to get that straight in there. The cut and emboss machine has a variety of plates that come with it. It all comes with everything you need. You always need the base, number one. Number two, you only use with die cutting, so we don't need that. And for the 3D embossing folders, which is what I meant, not thick, 3D, you just need the base plate and the grey, dark grey number 4 plate, which is this one. And then these are for your cutting plate, with this very heavily used cutting plate. And you also use those to sandwich your regular embossing folders in. So that's the sandwich for that, and we're just going to do that just in white cardstock. Just roll that through. Shouldn't be difficult to roll it through. I was tempted to do a different technique with this, but I decided just to keep it crisp white and not add any ink this time. So that's that, and I'm going to put the die cut stuff back on, because we will need to die cut out this image. So you'll end up with a lovely embossed background, and it's got this lovely label in the middle. You could chop that out. Okay, I think the die set that goes with it coordinates with that. So you could cut it out with the die, or you could fussy cut it if you don't want that to go to the expense of getting the dies. Add ink to it, letterpress with it, use it this way, use it that way. Loads to do with this one. It's really, really pretty. And then I mean, you could literally keep it white, sentiment in the middle, and it's a pretty card. And maybe add a bit of ribbon. Okay, we're using it in this orientation. We're not adding any ink to it at all. We're just going to be sticking it down onto a card base. So I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal. It is a 3D folder, but the edges are, it's not so raised that it's overly warped. Well, it hasn't for me anyway. And it's not snagging with sometimes a roller adhesive, a tape adhesive would snag on some of those raised bits, but this one's fine. If it does wet glue or the double-sided tape, we'll do that. That's the card base done. Easy peasy. Already stamped our image with Memento ink. Memento's water-based, so it will play nicely with our Stampin' Blends markers. So we're going to use a soft seafoam, and we're just going to colour this reasonably quickly. I'm not going to spend a whole heap of time colouring this today, but we can just add that in. And the thing with these markers is you can colour quite quickly and leave it, I don't want to say the word flat, but you know what I mean. You don't have to fuss about with it necessarily. Or you can spend the extra time and do a whole heap of blending. So I'm just going to put touches of dark here and there, but I'm not going to fuss too much with it. Not today. The emphasis is on the other elements. So I've decided to use in colours for all my colouring on this one. So is this the dark or the light? This is the dark. So light Darling Duckling. Going on first, and we've got those sort of speckles on there, which is where I'm going to pop some of the dark marker. So it's not complicated colouring, this is just nice simple stuff. These little teeny flowers, just realised I might not be in shot. Oh yeah. I'm just going to add some dark marker just around, literally spot in the centre where the artist has indicated where that is. So again, no fancy blending, that is all I'm going to do, and then I'm going to go over the whole lot with the light marker. So that looks like it's sort of disappeared a bit, but in real life, once that dries back, you will get a little bit of definition on there, or just skip it and just do it in one colour. So you can sort of add in as much or as little as you like with these. Another trick you can do is you can use the colour lifter, or the plain marker. And if you go around that, it sort of diffuses the colour and makes them really subtle. So they're still coloured, but they've got that sort of much fainter kind of look to them. And then I'm going to use cloud cover for the petals. which is a really nice sort of pale bluish, greyish colour. So this is the light marker. In fact, I might do that technique that I've just told you about. I'm going to pop that in on one side of the petals. Okay. I'll put a teensy bit of the dark in as well. So it will almost give you the, I'm just following the line, literally. So that's going to look a bit weird. Right, but we'll get the colourless, what do we call this? Colour lifter, that's right, yeah. And if I zoom in a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to go over the light side. Turn it round so you can, I'm left-handed, so I'm just going to just twizzle it round. So I'm just going over that edge, and that will, that colour will sort of bleed into that wet alcohol and sort of diffuse it a little bit. It's going to maybe pull that bit of that yellow from the centre a little bit as well, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's super subtle, and you've got to sort of let it do its magic, if you know what I mean. So you won't see the effect straight away, but I think you'll be able to see it on the ones that I started with. Oh yeah, it's starting to do what it needs to do. So it sort of softened that off, and it almost gives it the impression that they're actually white, but they've been coloured. Okay, so we'll do the same with the little one. You probably don't need the dark marker, but it just adds just a teensy bit of depth along that edge, so you still get that light and dark. From the shadow. So teensy bit fancy, but it's not difficult to do. With you don't want these to bleed though, so just be careful that you don't get too close to other elements that you don't want to bleed. Or do this bit first, and then once it's all completely dry, go back to it and do your other bits. That's how you can avoid that happening. Okay, so blend that in a little bit. Okay, so it's not a difficult technique to do, but like with, oh whoops, sorry, didn't mean to zoom you out quite that far. The alcohol markers need a bit of practice. Stamp a couple of these images and play about with the colours, and don't think you just have to do light and dark of a colour together. You could in theory use some other colours to bring some other dimension. So we've got our dark and light duckling here, which look quite similar when they're wet, but who's to say you couldn't blend that in with a bit of the actually Daffodil Delight seems to be darker than that actually, but you could potentially blend those together and you get more of a sort of, I don't know, you get like that sort of darker kind of colour, almost like a crushed curry, I guess. So don't think you're locked into just using the pair of markers as they are. Think about combining them with other colours as well. Okay, so we just need to die cut that out. So we'll just get that lined up. So I usually find that if you line up top and bottom, most of the other bits should fall into place with just a bit of adjustment here and there. Just hold it down with some low tack tape, and then we will get that die cut out. And that's pretty much the main features of this card. we just need to cut out a sentiment. Haven't even added any gems or anything this time round, so we're just keeping the focus. Oh, actually, pudding head. Right, doesn't matter. Haven't heat embossed it. That was the whole point. So I'm going to use this, right, because I can lay that back in there. Yeah, okay, because I need the positioning, right? So I'm going to use a stamp positioning tool for this. So what I'm going to do now, you really need one, unless you're really good at lining up stamps. Okay, because what I'm actually going to do is emboss this again. I could put some tape on the back of there, but I think we're good. This is a technique that you see people do sometimes if they want to do batch stamping and die cutting. They'll use like a template. So I'm going to go try and get that back in there. It's positioned back into the hole, so it should be lined up. Stamp's clean-ish. Yep, okay, right. So in fact, I do need to clean the stamp because I'm going to use Versamark over the top of this. So I'm just going to give that a quick wipe off, just so I don't get dirty black ink into my Versamark, really. I'm going to grab my Versamark. I haven't got any of this stuff out, I forgot, because I thought I'd done. Yeah, okay. Right, we are going to need a bit of anti-static. We've got, you know, the ink's been on there, so there might be a little bit bits that catch. Get that Versamark applied to that. So it's already been stamped with Memento, but we're going to restamp it with Versamark. Okay, so we're going to pop that over the top. So we're going over that edge again. I'm going to give that real firm pressure and make sure it's done. So like I say, a stamp positioning tool is really, I would say it's quite necessary to do this, but you don't have to do this part. It was just an extra bit of fun with the embossed theme that I thought we could add in. So I'm going to need some tweezers to hold on to this somewhere. Where can I hold on to this that isn't going to affect how it embosses? Not really sure yet, so I might have to just go with it, but I need to get a move on, otherwise my ink's going to be dry. It does dry slowly, so you've got a little bit of panic time. So this would obviously be much easier if it hadn't die cut it out. And I'm not going to worry too much about the odd fleck here and there appearing on the design. Okay, so that's already intensified that outline, but obviously we're going to heat emboss it. I'll tidy up everything else in a minute. So heat tool's going to need to warm up. Is a bit on the loud side, so you might want to mute the video while I'm doing that, but I'll try and keep it in shot so you can see it going over. Right, be back in a sec. I think I've got it all. It was it's harder to see, especially if you can't grip it with your thing. So once I heated that bit, you can see I picked it up so that I could tilt it into the light and see that I've got that shiny outline. A few bits and pieces just blew away a little bit, and I ended up with a few specks here and there, but I don't think it matters for this design. So there we go, just wiping away any excess there. Okay, so now we've got our elements. Okay, right, so we're going to need some dimensionals. Okay, and I'm going to stick about 4 of them. Doesn't need to be a lot. You just want it secured in, and I think sometimes having some pieces that look like they've got some movement to them is really pretty. So there we go. I'm just looking to get that stem along there just for that visual. And then sentiment wise, I happen to have already cut out this good look, which fits quite nicely. So all I did with this was I just I think that one was there, good look was there, and the one I used on the other card was there. So I just lined up one of my shapes, had a look what was going to fit. So, you know, the high there would be good for this one, so I could just lie that over, double die cut it. You know, you might be able to use that one for this one. So you might lose some of the details of some of your other sentiments, but I didn't figure I'd be using I adore you at any point, so I just went with it. Or you can just obviously chop them out with some scissors, probably use some punchy circle dies, anything, just to cut out those sentiments, and then you've got loads ready on the go. So we'll need a couple of dimensionals on that to bring it up to the same level as the die cut. We'll put those towards the middle because there might be some things overlapping each other, so we'll just give it a chance in case that wants to happen, because it's kind of nice to have it connected with the main thing. In fact, we can get that quite close. Yeah, that looks good. Now I've got to get it straight. Looks okay. The O is being sort of cross-sectioned by that line on the die cut on the embossing, which kind of helps guide you. See, that's pinking up a little bit because it's been embossed. If you really don't want it to, stick a dimension underneath there, but I think it's nice to have a little bit of like I say, dynamic elements to it. So there we go, that's our card today featuring embossing with a bit of colouring, a bit of those see how that's really dried back and really soft and subtle now with cloud cover and the colour lifter. Okay, and then you've got the bright orange just to sort of ping it out. I went a bit brighter with these ones. It's Petunia Pop and Pretty in Pink, so they're in colours as well. So yeah, so there we go, there's our variation of it on a theme. Dry embossing and heat embossing coming together to create the design today. Ooh, I'm too close. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go, you can see them both side by side. And yeah, that's it for today. And don't forget to check the links, click more in the description, go to the blog post that goes with this, and you'll be able to see everybody else's projects. And don't forget to follow us, social media presence across Instagram, Facebook, that kind of thing. So yeah, we do love the support. Likes and comments really help our channels grow. And of course there is a supply list if you did want to purchase anything that I've used today. Thanks ever so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.